So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create custom knowledge inside of Copilot Studio. Not just taking the out of the box, but building your own custom knowledge. Okay, so let's first start off with what is knowledge inside of Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio, when we talk about knowledge, what we're talking about is basically a SAS-based RAG pattern or a retrieval augmented generation pattern. Now, what is that? If you don't know what that is, it's basically the ability for you to say, here's some pieces of information. I want to be able to search through it and then summarize an answer to a question based upon the information that was in this particular piece of knowledge. Now, not everything in the world is available inside of Copilot Studio. We've got a lot of different knowledge sources that are available, as you can see right over here. However, now what's going on is people are starting to find where they need to build their own custom knowledge inputs. And an example of this would be, let's say that you wanted to do ServiceNow and you wanted to use ServiceNow's knowledge. You can do that within Copilot Studio, but just be aware that there's limitations. There's things like, well, you can't necessarily filter down to just the knowledge base that you want inside of ServiceNow. You just kind of get all or nothing. So what if I wanted to take that and actually be able to build my own custom knowledge source and be able to consume it? How can I do that now with Copilot Studio using the knowledge capabilities of Copilot Studio so that I can just provide it my own search results from my own location? And this could work for anything, including using something that's outside of Copilot Studio's knowledge options. Maybe you have a custom database or things of that nature that you want to call. So let's go take a look at how this kind of works. Okay, so let's take a look at knowledge because of the fact that a lot of people don't understand that being able to do knowledge or build your own RAG pattern is actually kind of complicated if you think about it. And so what I'll do is show you how Copilot Studio actually does knowledge today. And then we'll take that and we'll talk about where we're inserting our own custom knowledge and things of that nature and the benefits of being able to do such a thing. So let's first start with taking a look at what Copilot Studio actually does as part of knowledge, as you'll see with these steps. So we'll start with stage one. So stage one is going to be where we do message moderation. This is going to be that when a person asks a question, we're actually going to make sure that the question being asked is a valid question and not something that should be moderated. The example being, if you try to ask Copilot Studio how to be able to build a bomb, whether or not you have content that tells you how to do that or not, Copilot Studio, because of responsible AI, is not going to do this for you. And so we'll stop it before it ever even gets to a large language model and hit it in the message moderation stage. Now, as we move to the next stage, which is going to be stage two here, which is query optimization. Query optimization is going to make it where we actually run a good query search against the back-end data source that we're going to pull from. The reason you do this is if I was talking about a rake that I was buying from the Home Depot and then I said, well, how long is it? You need to be able to rewrite the query to say how long is the rake that I'm talking about so that you can run that search query against the actual information through the next stage, which is information retrieval. Now, information retrieval is sort of the key spot here, guys. This is where what we are going to do is we are going to go out and run a search against a back-end API that is going to get you the answers. Now, if we talk about things like websites and things of that nature, we're actually not ingesting websites. A lot of people think that's what's happening. It's not what's happening in Copilot Studio. You're actually running a search against the Bing API to be able to get the search results back to understand what web pages are relevant and what content off those web pages are relevant for your query. Now, we also support things like SharePoint, which is going to be the graph. You can even use your own custom search endpoint if you want to build your own custom search and indexing. That's Azure AI Search that can do that. But let's say that you already have a search API. Let's use the ServiceNow example, which I'll demo in a bit, where ServiceNow does have a knowledge search API. It only supports lexical search, so I need to make sure that I'm not passing a full string text query. I need to do keyword searches. I'm going to show you how to do that as well, so that way we can use query optimization and then go against a custom information retrieval stage. Now, beyond that, what happens after this is that's when we go to stage 4. This is where the large language model actually comes into play. And with Copilot Studio, you can choose from a different set of large language models that you want to be used for summarization by changing the default model to one of the ones that are offered inside of Copilot Studio. And the beauty of that is that you don't have to worry about necessarily testing that and upgrading it and all the different things for red team testing that needs to be done to put a custom model in. So a lot of people like this. So that's where we go into summarization. We answer the question with the search results based upon what the user asked and within the context of the conversation. And then we move into step 5. Step 5 is going to be provenance validation. It's going to mean that it's going to check to see, did you actually answer the question with the content that was being provided, as well as this is where we generate citations for what you're going to get. Now, all of that needs to be combined back, and we end up in what we call summary moderation. Summary moderation is going to be where, again, we go back and we check the response coming back from the large language model to double check and make sure that it's not going to say something it shouldn't say. And then you get to stage 7, which is your final stage, which is where we actually do response delivery back to the actual user. Now, all of these things are logged into different locations and things of that nature, but the beauty of it is that you don't necessarily need to build your own custom RAG pattern just because you want to pull from a custom source of where you want to pull your data from. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use ServiceNow as an example, and you'll see that ServiceNow actually has the ability for us to go in and be able to look at knowledge. And if we go in and look at the homepage of the knowledge that's inside of ServiceNow, you'll see that we actually have 4 knowledge bases that have been loaded here. And these are just basically a sample set of data that's inside of a ServiceNow personal developer environment. So when you take a look at this, know that your organization may have different knowledge bases because you created different ones, for maybe one for IT, one for HR, and many different use cases for us to be able to have different knowledge bases inside of ServiceNow. In this particular instance, I've got one for IT, KCS knowledge base, knowledge, and known errors. And so in the case that I wanted to filter this down to say all I want is to be able to get the IT related knowledge base, but not the rest, or I wanted to do just IT and known errors, I can combine that and do that because of the fact that there are advanced configurations on the ServiceNow Knowledge connector, which I will show you in more depth as we go in, that would allow you to be able to do this. However, out of the box, Copilot Studio implementations of knowledge for ServiceNow does not allow you to be able to filter this down. You get all the knowledge or none. And so what I'm going to do is show you how we are going to add a knowledge capability inside of Copilot Studio, where now I have the ability to control this. And again, this doesn't have to be ServiceNow. It could be any type of place that you have indexed knowledge that you want to call the API, and you want to be able to return the search results and take it from there. So with that, let's jump into Copilot Studio and see how we configure it. So now we're inside of Copilot Studio, and I've got this advanced authoring agent that I'm going to use for several demos and videos that I'm recording for you guys. For this particular video, what we're going to do is we're going to go into how do I build that custom knowledge implementation. And there's a bit of a trick to it. Matter of fact, it's actually not even documented in the documentation of Copilot Studio as of today of the recording of the video. However, I'm going to show you how you can actually do this. So the way that you can do it is you need to be able to take advantage of a custom trigger that you can use inside of Copilot Studio. For those that are new to Copilot Studio, just know that if we go to topics and we say we want to add a topic, and let's just go create a blank one, it'll create a trigger that will allow you to be able to say, when do you want to trigger this particular implementation or this particular topic. Now, the thing is that we've always had this little two arrows here that we can go click, and you can see we've got all these different trigger types that we have. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that when you're playing with these particular triggers, you actually have access to more triggers than what's in the UI. Because if you go into more and you say open code editor, what you're going to see here is that here is the trigger right here. And if I just take this and I just delete on recognized, notice this error screen. This error screen is going to give you all these different triggers that it could possibly be because of the fact that these are all the ones that you could actually put into the YAML. And one of the things that we're going to look at here is OnKnowledgeRequested. So this particular item, if you just change this to be OnKnowledgeRequested, and we close our code editor, notice that we've got OnKnowledgeRequested. Now, what does this trigger do? This trigger means that I want to say that when someone requests knowledge, that it's going to use this. So this is going to allow me to build my own custom knowledge input for Copilot Studio. Now, there's a bit of a trick to it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over really quick to the one where I made a ServiceNow custom knowledge. And let's take a look at how I was able to do this. So there's a couple of different things that we need to think about. If you recall, we had the conversation earlier about the need to be able to run a query that actually is aware of the conversation. So that way I get a good query search to go search over the knowledge that I'm wanting to go search against. And so the first thing you should know is that there is a node called Create Search Query. And if you come in and you go in and you say that you want to add a tool, you can see here, generate a search query. Now, what does generate a search query do? Generate a search query actually allows you to go in and be able to generate out a query that's going to be, two different queries are going to get created. One is going to be a keyword query, and one is going to be a full text query. So keyword is going to be optimized for things like lexical searches, and then you're going to have full search query or full text query. That's going to be for vectorized search services. And so when we take a look at this and we say, well, what are we wanting to do? We're actually going to write this out to say the default will be systemactivity.text, which is what did the user just say. And then we're going to generate a search query and we're going to store that in a record. Now, once we store that in a record, we now have that available. So this is just a custom variable that was created. And you can see here, this is just a topic level query, or a topic level variable rather. Now, once we've got this all put in, then we're going to need to add in the ServiceNow Get Knowledge Articles connector. Now you do that by coming in and saying add a tool and going to connector and adding your connector in. It's pretty simple. This is one of the out-of-the-box connectors. Now you'll need to make sure that you put in the inputs and just be aware that there are custom inputs that you're going to need. Now, one of the things that you're going to see is that we need to be able to say, what are the different inputs on this? Now, when we look at this input, I want you to see that what are we passing in? We're passing in the search query, keyword search query. So topic search query, keyword search query is the key part of what we wanted. And that's basically inside this record, it has the keyword search query. Now, why are we using keyword instead of using full text search query? The reason is because ServiceNow supports lexical search. So you need to pass it keywords that it's going to search for. Now, for this last part here is going to be very specific to ServiceNow. And that is, you need to add in the fields. You need to add text. Now, what is text? Text means that it's going to return back the full text of the knowledge article, the body of the knowledge article. Then I take it and limit it to the top 3. So that way I don't pass so much information into the large language model that I'm going to have a problem. So you can play with this. You can add more or less. The size of your knowledge articles are going to be pretty important. And it's the same thing whenever you go run your search query on any service. You probably want to put a limit on it. Now, the other thing is that we can also run against the filter. And if you wanted to say that you only wanted a specific knowledge base, know that we could add it here. This is where you can have a comma-separated list of knowledge base sysids. So you'll need to go get the sysid or the sysids of the different knowledge bases that you would want. So if we wanted just that IT one, we would go get the sysid from ServiceNow, put it in. If we wanted the sysid for multiples, we just put commas and put different sysids in. That will limit the search query that's going to the API for getting knowledge from ServiceNow. Now, what will happen is we will also get an output. And the output is just going to be a variable that we create here. And let's take a look at it. And you'll see that it's just a topic level variable. That's all we needed to do is create that topic level variable to store the results coming from ServiceNow. Now, once we've got that, we do need to do a little bit of work. And the reason is because in order for us to pass this information in to knowledge, we have to format it properly for knowledge to be able to ingest it. Now, how do we actually format that? So the first thing we're going to do is we need to set a variable. And so we create a variable and we'll call it formatted results. And you'll see here, it's just, again, another topic level variable. We're not having to put anything global or anything of that nature, just a simple topic level variable. I called it formatted results. And here's where we do the magic. So inside of this, you'll see this formula. And I'm going to zoom this in for you so you can see this. And let me explain what we're doing with this particular formula. We're saying for all the results that come in, we want to create basically a structure of information, and basically we're going to create a record or a table. Now that table is going to be sourced from the articles that we're getting back, which is inside of what we return back as our results. And we're basically going to say that the table has 2 columns. It has content and it has content location. So those are the different pieces of information that's going to be stored in each row of our table. Now, what do I call the first part? I'm going to say the content is going to be a concatenation of the following items, of the title of the knowledge article, separated with a dash, and then the actual field value of the body of the implementation or the knowledge article. Now, the reason we're doing that is we're going to pull in the actual full value of the implementation or the text field. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say that we need to give it a URL so that we can build a citation. Well, the way to do that is that we just go say that we would like to concatenate the combination of our actual information on the URL for where ServiceNow is going to store the knowledge base. And in this case, for my dev instance, this is the location. Your instance, you will probably need to replace here as well. And then you're looking for the number. And the number is the knowledge article number. So now what we have is we have 2 different things. We have a row for every single knowledge article that's being returned from the search service. We are concatenating the content with the title of it, with a dash, and then the rest of the information that's going to be inside of the actual article. And then we're going to we have that second piece of information, which is basically the URL for that particular knowledge article. And it will do this for every one that is returned. So if I changed it from 3 articles being returned to 5, it's going to make 5 rows in this particular implementation. Know that the maximum you can pass is 15 inside of Copilot Studio. Now, the last stage of this, and this is very important, is because we need to go through the whole process of knowledge, we have to write it to a location where knowledge writes this information. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our search results, we're going to pass into a table called search results. Now, if you come into Copilot Studio and you look, there's a system variable for search results. You're going to pass this, you're going to set the value of this to the formatted results that we had up here. So basically we're getting the information. So let's walk this back through. When knowledge is requested, we are creating our custom search query. We're taking that custom search query, we're passing it in as the query into ServiceNow. We are getting a response from ServiceNow and taking that and formatting it into the table structure that we need to be able to make it where Copilot Studio Knowledge will accept it. And then we're setting the search results value to be these formatted results so that way Knowledge can continue along all the additional stages that it needs to create everything it needs from that particular set of information that we're passing it. Now, with that, let's do a quick demo. So to demo this, I'm just going to ask a simple question to ServiceNow. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to ask this question here, which is, how can I get the MAC address for my network card? And when I ask this question, what you're going to see happen is Copilot Studio is going to go and try to figure out how to answer this question. And what it's going to do is it's going to say it needs to go to knowledge. And it's going to go look at all the different knowledge items that I've provided. But what you will see is that it actually will also check that one custom knowledge source that we've provided. And you can see I've got lots of different pieces of knowledge. It doesn't show in the UI that it's going to check this one, but it's actually going to go through and check it. And then what's going to happen once we get the answer to this is we're going to get a reference link with the information going in to say, where do I actually answer this question from? And as you can see, with this response, I got that it was able to say, to locate this is where you're going to need to go get it. And not only that, we got our citation to the ServiceNow location to be able to go and get this. So I hope this was super helpful. Now you guys know how to be able to go in and actually see how you can use Copilot Studio to be able to grab custom knowledge from your custom knowledge sources and be able to bring them in and add them in to knowledge inside of Copilot Studio without having to build a custom RAG pattern. You can just bring the knowledge that you have or the data that you have by doing a simple query against your knowledge and return those results into the knowledge backend of Copilot Studio, and it will automatically add that to your knowledge searches for you. Again, hope this was super helpful. And if you like videos like this or want more content around Copilot Studio, you can always like and subscribe to my channel. And as always, you can try Copilot Studio at aka.ms/tryCopilotStudio.